We are back, and we build predictions. Who's my guest this week? It's Marner!
We're back! We're back!
We're back in person.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful Papago Park. It probably looks like I'm holding it in my hand right now. I don't know, but no, we're back in it. We got to try that new format, but obviously we're buzzing to just be back pinging with each other. Right?
It's something special about having us in the same room talking about football, man.
The Kevin De Bruyne to my Holland. He's back to set me up.
Oh my days, we're back. I hope you guys had a great holiday season with your families.
Right.
But we're ready to kick it into the new year.
Kick it into the new year, and I think the best way to get that started is with the score. Take us away with how things shaped up last week.
We'll give you a quick score update. Brock had 4, I had 4, so we had another wash here. And our guest last week was my father, who takes the top of the leaderboard. The guest leaderboard goes to my dad. He put up a 6 last week, and he's at the top of that. Don't you worry, we'll get more guests into the fold throughout the rest of the year.
Right.
But I hope you guys enjoyed having that a little bit of change of pace, if you will.
Yeah, and it was a bit of fun. Always fun to interact with new people, and it's something that I hope we can continue into the future.
We will.
But that's going to take us into this game week.
Oh my days.
And we're starting off with the game of the week.
The game of the week!
Get back into the excitement, but Jordan, I want to pass it to you to set this game up for us.
Yep, we have a West London derby. We have Fulham against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. A huge rivalry game. Fresh off the win. Fulham's fresh off the win against another Big Six team. And they are in a really, really interesting place right now as a club.
Right.
You have the FA Cup this past week. They have the Carabao Cup semifinals. They have Liverpool on Wednesday, Chelsea on Saturday, Liverpool the next Wednesday. It's a huge run of games for the club, and it's historic. It's historic for them too.
Yeah, and it's a fun time for your club for sure. Obviously, you talked about it in the past. This Arsenal win for you, it's, hey, we've taken it to Big Six sides, and this is the first time that you've kind of gotten rewarded for it. Yeah. And to fair play to Fulham. I think they showed a lot more teeth going forward, and that's all that you can ask when you're at home, to sit in, absorb against a big side, and hit quick on the break. Exactly.
So this will be the game of the week. Chelsea coming off that win against Luton, going into the new year. So they're a team in pretty good form. Right. Still middle of the pack, but they want to start pushing up, don't they?
I think it's only right that you take us away with the score. First one back. It's the game of the week, so you get to pick first.
Come on, you Whites. 2-1 Fulham. Let's go get it.
Yeah, for me, it's I just can never do that. Knowing that they're at Stamford Bridge, I've got to sit on the fence on this one, and I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1.
I think it's a 1-1 draw.
It's a safe pick. Yeah. If Fulham didn't have the Carabao Cup kind of on both sides of this fixture, I think there would be a lot more around it. But right now we're so focused on a chance at the finals.
Trophies, you want trophies, right?
And that's something Fulham's never been able to really say. So we're gonna go for it in the semis. So being right in the middle of that, I can definitely understand where you're coming from. But go ahead and take us into the next game.
This is gonna take us into our next fixture. We head to St. James Park. We get Newcastle at home against Manchester City.
City might be back, aren't they?
City might be back, and they might be getting back the best midfielder in the world, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
He makes an appearance. They're just going to be so buzzed to have him in the side. He is a difference maker.
He really is. Sometimes you forget when players get injured, they go out of the side, and you forget how good they are. But Kevin De Bruyne is one of those guys you never forget how good he is.
You never forget. And they've had a good stretch of playing here. And Newcastle, we've seen kind of come off the rails. They get back on track in the FA Cup. Is this the chance that they needed to maybe rotate the squad a little bit, rest some players, and we're going to see that physical, intense Newcastle back at home?
No.
Okay.
City 3-1.
City 3-1. I'm going to take a different approach. I think that this is just the kind of game that Newcastle fans will be up for. I think the club will be up for, and I think they're going to make City work for it. That's not to say that they're going to get a point or anything. It's going to be 1-0 Manchester City.
1-0 City. Take us to the next one, Baker.
This gets us to Goodison Park. Everton at home against Aston Villa.
Everton, fresh out of that points deduction, we're flying.
Yeah.
But they've kind of petered off. They've lost the last couple. I think they're maybe lost 3 in a row.
Right.
And this is a tough one against a Villa team who scraped by to get the 3 points last week.
And I think that's a good way. If there's a word that I could use to describe Aston Villa at this moment, it's scrape. They are scraping here, there, and everywhere. And you always see it in these really fun teams that kind of shoot up the board.
Yeah.
They're going to find ways to just get little points or 3 points out of nothing.
And that brings us into our question of the week. Are Villa realistic title contenders?
I don't think so.
He doesn't think so.
I think Aston Villa is one injury away from just completely derailing. And we saw it with Tottenham, and I'll say it again, I've lived the experience as an Arsenal fan last season. They are one big injury away from a complete derailment of...
Well, wasn't there big injury Mings, and that helped them because Torres came into the side?
I don't think they're that deep, though. I don't think they're that deep.
Fair enough. Let us know in the comments if you think Aston Villa are for real, but let's go ahead and get into our predictions for this game. What do you think?
And I think it's going to be one that Villa will once again... 83rd minute, going to find a winner, 2-1 Aston Villa.
2-1. I'm going to completely agree, 2-1 Villa.
Okay. This is going to take us into our next fixture. We get Manchester United against Tottenham Hotspur.
Game.
Yeah, it's a big game.
Right?
Yeah.
United have been struggling. You think they're back, and then they get bounced by Forrest, right?
Yeah.
And Tottenham are just, they're in a stage right now where they're hard to predict.
Yeah, they are.
Right? They came out of the gates just going, they were dominant at the beginning of the year, playing very, very expansive football, got a lot of injuries. Once they navigated the injuries, they started building back form, and then they lose one, win one, and you just really don't know what you're gonna get from them.
I think we're starting to see them find their realistic footing. I think this is what we would have expected from Tottenham. Obviously, a new manager bounce to the max. They're playing beautiful football from what we saw the rubbish of last year.
Exactly.
But I think you're still going to kind of see this high and this low of Tottenham. But they bring in Timo Werner, a good bit of fun business to start the transfer window. I think that could be an exciting move for his career. United, on the other hand, they're a club that I look at and I have no idea how to predict.
Never.
Because you just think, okay, they have the one or two players that you think could be a difference maker on any given day, and I think that will be the case here. I'm going to go ahead and put my score out there. 2-1 Manchester United.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead. It's going to be a thriller. 2-2.
2-2. Sit on the fence. And fair play. This is going to take us into our next fixture. We get Burnley at home against Luton Town.
Wow.
Yeah, you looked at this game at the beginning of the season and you say, we know exactly what's going to happen here. Luton, this is a free points for Burnley. They're going to need them to maybe avoid the relegation zone, but is that the case here?
Feels the flip side
exactly.
of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like Luton are the team that are actually looking to maybe claw their way out of the relegation zone, and Burnley just have not looked good.
Yeah.
They have not.
With that being said, this is just a vibe has just come upon my heart here. Vincent Kompany is going to take Burnley to a 2-0 victory against Luton Town.
And they showed a lot of fight against Tottenham in the FA Cup. They really did. Poro needed an absolute banger to knock them out. They showed a lot of fight, and that's something you like to see from a club like Burnley. Man, I was leaning that way, but I like diversity here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 2-1 Luton.
2-1 Luton.
We're just going to go for it. Why
Somebody's
not?
going to pick something up for sure.
Why not?
Cool. We'll take us to our next fixture. We get the Arsenal back at the Emirates against Crystal Palace.
Let me say your piece.
I'll say my piece. Obviously, Arsenal is really struggling to score right now, and I think a big part of it is the treatment that they are getting. I think there's two clubs that you look at in the Premier League for the first half of the season at least that you saw low block every single game, and it's hard to break down. And you've got your wingers that are underperforming their XG.
Yeah.
And you don't really have a talisman, and so you're starting to look at the squad and you're like, on any given Saturday, Sunday, where are the goals going to come from? And you're starting to see the implications of that.
Yep.
And Arsenal struggling to score, and what was holding us together was the solid defense. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a leaky defense as well.
And the one player that comes to my mind when you're saying underperforming, Martinelli has just not been at the same level as he was last season.
He hasn't.
He's been underperforming. He looks very one-dimensional out on the wing.
Yeah.
And so that's the player you look at. In my opinion, Odegaard's always class.
Yeah.
Saka's always class. He's always fun, right? And you got a decent midfield. You have all that. But that's the one player that you look at and you're like, if he's on, we're a very difficult team to play against. When he's off, the other players start to fall apart. And that's not to say he's like the most important player or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I just think he's been underperforming and it's affecting everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's a super last thing I'll say on it, I think it's a perfect opportunity to slide somebody like Trossard into the side where Martinelli's playing. Yep. It has a little bit more of that teeth. He has the finishing edge. He can finish with both feet. I think we need a little bit more of that, something different. We'll talk about Palace here now. Obviously, Elise and Eze
are back, and it is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's just so fun to see.
Yeah, and you watch Elise, and I'm like, it's one of those players I look and I watch on the TV, and I'm like, I wonder what his transfer value is. Can we maybe make a cheeky little bid?
It's true.
But they're just brilliant players. I'm going to just, with all that we've compiled here, all the information.
Boom.
It's given me my pick. 2-1 Arsenal. And it's another one that you're going to see. Underwhelming performance. They find a way to get it done.
2-0 Arsenal. Bring us to the next one.
We're heading from the Emirates to Brentford at home against Nottingham Forest. Man.
It's a great game. Nuno Santos has Forest playing really, really good soccer right
they
now.
are.
It's that new manager bounce. We'll see how long it lasts, but they're clawing their way and creating that gap a little bit bigger between the relegation zone, which is huge.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they wanted for. We were so critical of the decision to let Steve Cooper go, and this is why we don't run football clubs.
Yep.
I think that's what we're seeing here.
Brentford, though. Oh, man.
Do they get Tony back this game?
I think they have to wait till the 17th.
They've got to wait. So they're sitting there waiting. They're dreaming of Tony.
But they are 5 straight losses. Yeah. 5 straight losses. It's not been pretty. They've been very, very underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think they'll continue to be until they get Tony back. They need some sort of spark.
They need something.
And they're not going to get it here. 2-1 Forest.
And I'm going to completely agree with you. Forest in the transition.
I should have waited. I should have let him throw his prediction out first.
They've been just flying. I think Morgan's Gibb White, we've kind of seen him revitalized.
Yes.
An incredible player. I think you're going to see him make a big move in the summer, but 2-1 Forest. That's going to go ahead and take us into our next fixture. We get Sheffield United at home against West Ham.
I don't think we need to talk too much about this one, do we?
Not much to say. West Ham, shambolic, just parking the bus, trying to get a point against Brighton. That's all I'll say on this.
And the thing about West Ham is they're in 6th.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of criticism coming at David Moy and the way that he plays, but he can just say, we're in 6th.
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
Well, I don't care if we have possession, we're in 6th.
Yeah.
Right? And this will be another one of those games where they'll get the result 2-0 West Ham.
3-1 West Ham. This takes us to Bournemouth at home against the Flying Liverpool.
Wow. Bournemouth have been in good form. They lost to Tottenham, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of those games where Bournemouth looked the better side.
Yeah.
They looked the better side, could not get goals, could not find the goals, lose. Now they're going against a Liverpool team who, Sam sent me the stat this week. They put up the most XG in a Premier League game in history last week against Newcastle.
And we'll give that stat its due credit. It's true, but it's also waffle at the exact same time because two penalties. Going to shoot the XG out the window.
One of the penalties, probably not a penalty, huh?
Yeah, I'm not a pundit. I'm not going to make any kind of ridiculous comment. The referee saw it. The VAR confirmed it. We'll leave it at that for myself, at least. If I speak, I get fined. But
yeah, us we're big time now over here on And We Build.
PGML is going to send me a little check in the mail. But in all seriousness, I think this is just such a fun game. It's like when you're playing basketball and you've made a couple threes in a row, and so you get down the court and you're like, I'm just going to throw this one up. We're just going to go for it. Heat check. This is a heat check for Bournemouth. Can they keep the ball rolling against a really big side?
No, they cannot. 3-1 Liverpool. It's my scoreline.
Yeah, I'm going to just knock it down one. I think they'll make them work for it. 2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool. Next game, Baker.
Takes us to Brighton at home against Wolves. A sneaky fun game.
Very sneaky fun.
Yeah, sneaky fun game. Brighton known for their beautiful playing out of the backs, and Wolves completely flying under the radar.
Under the radar. They're the team that you thought were in a relegation battle, but they are sitting close to top half.
Yeah.
It's been really impressive to watch, and Gary O'Neill needs a lot more credit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an unbelievable job from him.
And in recent weeks, they didn't have Neto, and he's back now. So now you have Neto, Sarabia, all these great players, right?
Right.
Cunha's even been in good form, right? And they're really flying under the radar.
Yeah. I have my take on it. I think Brighton at home going to play some crazy build-up, and I think you're going to see Brighton take this one 3-1. They're due for it.
They're due for a game, and this is the game that they want.
Yeah.
Right? They had that absolute boring 0-0 against West Ham last week. I'm going to sit on the fence here. I think Wolves are good enough to get a point, and they're playing really, really well 1-1.
Wow. This is going to wrap us up for the week. Obviously, we've thrown all of our predictions out there. Throw up the graphic.
Oh, man. Let's hear you in the comments, all your waffle.
Yep. Make
sure you're you're commenting that Brock's a Muppet. So.
Yeah, all the XG merchants, predict how much you think Arsenal's going to get in XG this weekend. But that's going to do it for this week. Cheers.